Hello and good evening from London. This is Dr. Dermot Hudson, Chairman of the Korean Friendship Association of the UK, and also Chairman of the British Group for the Study of the Juche Idea. And I'm also a member of the New Communist Party of Britain and a member of the International Ukraine Anti-Fascist Solidarity. I'm here today to speak to Points News about the local elections tomorrow in the UK. In about a third of the country in the UK, there's going to be local elections. Where I live, there are no local elections, but people in a lot of other parts of the country are going to be voting in these local elections. So anyway, Points News raised a couple of questions for me to discuss, and they asked, "Do you believe the candidates running for these important positions are qualified?" Well, no, I don't think most of them are qualified, and I don't think most of them have the support of the people, and I don't think they really represent anyone except for themselves. As to who is likely to win, I think that's a difficult question to answer because first of all, there's no elections in my area, and it's not always easy to comment on elections in other parts of the country. Now, I think one thing is for sure that there will be heavy defeats for the Labour Party because the Keir Starmer government has totally failed to deliver on any promises. I mean, they're just a disaster. Living standards are going down all the time. Life is a nightmare due to rising prices, and also in many localities, the situation is dire. Many local areas are not being run very well at all. You've got high council tax. My council tax went up in April. At the same time, you've got very poor quality local services. And in Birmingham, there is a crisis because they tried to cut the pay of refuse workers who then went on strike, and there's rubbish piled up on the streets. So I think the Labour Party will lose heavily in the elections, and maybe other mainstream parties like the Conservative Party and Liberal Democrats parties, possibly the far right Reform Party, may gain seats, and maybe also the Workers' Party of Britain, led by George Galloway, and possibly various independent candidates may win. But I think one thing is for sure, there will be steep losses for Labour and probably the Conservatives as well. Some British politicians are proposing to send British troops to Ukraine. I mean, this is what the Prime Minister Starmer said, before any deal between Russia and the US, or Russia, Ukraine and the US was being discussed. He immediately jumped in and offered British troops to act as a so-called peacekeeping force in Ukraine. No one asked him to do that, and yes, it is a threat to the prospect of peace. It will be an occupation force, and I think it would further increase instability in the area and lead to further conflict rather than reducing it. And it's something that we shouldn't entertain. Britain doesn't have the money to send troops abroad. It is simple as that. The money spent on sending troops to places like Ukraine and building military bases there could be better spent on hospitals, schools, and welfare in the UK. The disabled in the UK are facing a massive cuts in their benefits. But at the same time, money is being thrown at military ventures in the Ukraine. I think the best thing British politicians could do to bring a peaceful resolution to the situation in Ukraine is by basically not getting involved, ending support for the neo-Nazi regime in Kiev. Yes, stop throwing British taxpayers' money at them. As said, we don't really have the money, and I think if we cut down on non-essential overseas military spending, lives of British people can be improved because these resources can then be used to improve the lives of British people. I do not think that the current candidates, the candidates of mainstream parties, are capable of addressing the crisis in the UK. That is very, very clear. We've had a Conservative government for about 9 years. Before that, it was a Conservative Liberal Democrat coalition government, the Condemn coalition, that came to power in 2010. And from 2024, we've had the Labour government, so-called, of Keir Starmer, and none of them have solved anything. Life is getting worse. I think in order to resolve the crisis, or perhaps go some way to resolving it, as I said earlier, we've got to stop spending money on sending British troops abroad, having British military bases abroad. We should leave NATO because NATO is also expensive. We have to pay a contribution to NATO. We should leave it, and Britain should become a genuinely independent country. We left the EU, but we've never left NATO. And also, we're in shackling international, so-called international institutions like the World Bank, the World Trade Organization, the IMF, World Economic Forum. And I think we should become independent from those as well. Reducing overseas military expenditure would mean that resources could be then spent on local services and also on hospitals, on schools, and so on. And I think we also need a fundamental redistribution of wealth in the UK. Too much wealth is concentrated in the hands of a very tiny elite, the top 1% of the population, and we need to really seriously redistribute wealth in the UK, and that would be a start. Anyway, I think I've given as detailed answers as possible. So thank you for interviewing me, and I wish all of your viewers a very good evening. Thank you. Goodbye.